Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be crafting with Hearty Soft air dry clay. It's a super light clay and I keep it in its bag. In another bag I put cling film wrap on it, and then I keep it in a Ziploc bag in order to keep it fresh. It's not cheap, so you do want to wrap it this way so that you get the best out of it and that it lasts for a good long time. So we're going to be using this. I'm using a Sizzix steel rule die called Frame Ornate 3. I've cut it with chipboard and I cut it twice, although I'm not using the frame twice. I wanted to use the centerpiece twice. I also cut a piece of decorative scrapbook paper to go onto the top of it. And this is what I've made so far. So as you can see, I used a collage glue stick to make sure that the center remained in there. I'm going to be putting an easel onto the back of this, and I covered the frame with scrapbook paper. I used some of my gems, which I got from AliExpress. You get a large bag of 100 pieces for a couple of dollars, which is really good if you like to do altered things. There's many uses for those, and you can also recolor them with alcohol ink if they're not to your taste and liking. And the second oval that I glued on top because I wanted some raised definition, I used some Craftsmart brass gilding paint. Now, something you need to know about this paint is that once you've used it a couple of times, you actually have to shake this product in order to be able to use it. And shaking it will create an airlock between the cap and the bottle. So in the end, the best thing for you to do is to take a screw and a screwdriver and screw a hole into the top, big enough for you to get a small paintbrush into, and then just use some tape over it to make sure that you get a good airtight seal and no leakage. We are also going to be using a silicone mold. This one is from AliExpress and it's a Jester. Now, I've already made my piece. Because I live in Florida, high humidity, my air dry clay will take 48 hours to dry. So I actually made this 48 hours ago. I hope you can see that okay. And we're going to be using distress inks to colour this. I want to keep this whole thing in sepia tones. So I'm choosing Tim Holtz distress inks in these colours. So we've got walnut stain, antique linen, vintage photo and black soot. I'm going to be using that minimally, but I also did around the edge using a blending tool with black soot. And of course my Jester, once he's been painted, is going to sit in the centre of this frame. And with the easel on the back, he'll stand up and become a decorative ornament on my shelf in the craft room, because I'm a great lover of jesters and clowns and vintage circus in general. Okay, just going to pause and then we'll get started. I want to begin with my lightest colour first, so I'm going in with antique linen and I'm just going to squish that around a bit on my craft mat. Now, air dry clays can be extremely absorbent, and I did do a test piece to see what kind of results and effects I would get using the inks that I wanted to use. So that's always a useful thing to do, is to test the products that you want to use on the medium that you intend to use. Okay, I've got my water brush. I'm going to squeeze a good blob of water there because I want to make sure that I've got enough wash to put onto my Jester, and I'm going all over it. You probably won't see much colour difference to begin with, but it's always best to build up on a project like this. Now, I'm not going to bore you while I paint the whole thing, so I'll pause and come back once I've done the first layer. Okay, I've completed that, and as you can see, he's now antique linen. I'm now going to go in with my second colour, which is vintage photo, and I'm going to be using that predominantly on the hat, and I'll be back once I've done that. I've completed his hat using the vintage photo, and I'm now going to apply walnut stain to the lower part of the jester. I'm back, and I've used the walnut stain on the jester's collar, and I've also used a size B Prismacolor marker and done the jester's eyes. I'm now going to dot those with a white Sharpie pen to highlight them, and hopefully the pen is going to work. I'm going to give that a good shake. Test it on the mat first, because of course Sharpies tend to flood, so I'm dotting that out quite a few times to make sure that I only get the amount of white that I want, just enough to highlight the eye. And that will do for me. And again, going back into that, just want to pick up just enough. As you can see, I've for me personally, that's too much white on that eye, so I'm going to go back in with my Prismacolor size B and just gently go around the edge to provide a little more black to go into the inside. I quite like that, and I'm going to go around and under that one too. And there I've highlighted the jester's eyes. Now the ball fringes on the collar I intend to do in gold, and also the dots on the hat, and this sort of tiara type crown that he has here. And then I'm going to do a black gemstone in the center. As I said, I want to keep it quite sepia and vintage masculine looking. And I'm going to be using, as I said earlier, this Craftsmart paint, peeling off the lid, and I put my brush into this hole here, and so I'll be back when I finish that. I've finished doing the brass paint onto the collar, the headpiece, and the small dots on the hat, and I'm now going to hot glue it onto the frame that I made earlier. Here is my completed jester. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you.